Saturday afternoon at Petco Park, the Padres again played bonus baseball, but this time the end result, well worth sticking around for, as Iguchi lifted the Friars' spirits. This afternoon, San Diego tries to hand Brandon Webb his first defeat of the 08 season. Easier said than done. Webb, the NL leader in wins. The Padres counter with reigning Cy Young Award winner Jake Peavy. Peavy yet to be beaten in 08 as well. It's the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and it comes up next. Hot Sunday afternoon for baseball in the gas lamp. Temperatures pushing 90 degrees for the series finale between the National League West leading Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres. Hello, everybody. Steve Quist alongside Mark Grant. Yesterday, what a day. The Padres snapping their 5-game losing streak. Here on Sunday, again, runs could be at a premium with the pitching matchup that we have for you today. Brandon Webb going for Arizona. And while he's unbeaten so far this season, he has had his moments in the past against San Diego where they can get to him.
Like any great pitcher, and Brandon Webb is one of the greatest pitchers of all time, winning a Cy Young Award in 2006. He can get to him in the 7 career losses. The Padres, the high ERA, the hits the opposing batting average at 282. The one thing about the sinker baller is that if it's up, you got to let it fly. If it's down around the knees, it's going to sink around the shoe tops. But as a hitter, it's so hard to not swing at that sinker because it looks like it's right there. It's the disappearing sinker. If he's on, he can be tough to hit.
The 2007 reigning Cy Young Award winner Jake Peavy is the other half of the pitching matchup. And he, against the Arizona Diamondbacks, has done very well, particularly here at Petco Park.
I really believe that Jake Peavy has made Petco Park his house. 6-2, the strikeouts, the opponent's batting average against these snakes. He smells it like a rat, like a D-back, slithering in the desert, looking for prey. Jake Peavy's prey is the Diamondbacks. But one thing that I'm excited about, Webb and Peavy, is the matchups. Koufax, Drysdale, back in the old days when there was great right-handers out on the mound. Today is a great matchup right now for Webb and Peavy.
It's worth repeating. It is Webb and Peavy. They have won the last 2 Cy Young Awards in the National League, and despite the 2 teams playing last season 18 times, these 2 never hooked up in 2007. Do stay with us. They'll hook horns in a moment. It's the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and it's next. Sunday afternoon scorcher in the gas lamp. Let's begin by checking out the Arizona Diamondbacks starting lineup. As always, brought to you by Rico. Move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. Young, Burns, and Hudson off the top. The middle of that lineup, Jackson, Reynolds, and Drew. Jeff Salazar will make a start in right since Justin Upton still has a hamstring problem. Chris Snyder, the catcher, will hit 8th, and Brandon Webb, the pitcher, will bat 9th. And they will take their cuts against Jake Peavy, who's making his 6th turn already in the Padres rotation. And his numbers brought to you by the accident and injury attorneys at Carey Steigerwald's Pacific Law Center. Into the box goes Young. Into the windup went Peavy, and we're underway from downtown where it is 91 degrees mud on this Sunday afternoon.
It's not going to take much to get loose out there. Jake Peavy working out in that bullpen, getting hot. And one thing on his mind, take 2 out of 3 from these Diamondbacks after yesterday's ball game. Boy, did they need that. Did the Friar need that victory or what?
They will open up play today. Just 10-15, still 7.5 back of Arizona, but before they go out on the road, an opportunity to pick up a game. Diamondbacks, on the other hand, continue to have the best record in Major League Baseball, 17-7, a comfortable 6-game cushion in the NL West. And Jake Peavy starting the afternoon with a walk, a 4-pitch walk to Chris Young. Padres defense behind Jake Peavy, brought to you by Ocean's 11 Casino. Come play our new $100,000 guaranteed championship poker tournament, I-5 Mission Avenue East in Oceanside. Tadahito Iguchi at second base with the walk-off winner yesterday, snapping the Friars' 5-game losing streak.
Not only the Padres needing that victory, but what a great at-bat to lift Tadahito Iguchi and his spirits.
Eric Burns, the batter now. Leg issues have kept Eric Burns quiet in this series. Hasn't made as many appearances as we would expect after opening up the season, starting the first 21 games for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But he does have terrific career numbers against Jake Peavy. 6 for 22 with a couple of home runs in his career against Jake. And a cut and a miss. 1 ball and 2 strikes as Peavy gets ahead on Burns.
I thought there might have been a chance for Young to maybe go on this pitch. It was a breaking ball, and watch the body language of Eric Burns way out in front of that slider, or cutter if you want to call it that. Didn't have that big of a break, but a good pitch to put him in the hole.
One thing that's worth noting, the Padres not wearing the camouflage jerseys this afternoon as planned. Replacement jerseys are being manufactured using the new cool base fabric utilized in the team's other 3-game jerseys. So until they get that fabric hammered out, especially on a 91-degree day, certainly don't want to be out there in the camouflage jerseys.
And you know, on a day like today, it brings you back to talking to Coleman back in his when they wore the wool uniforms. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. He's very candid when he talks about it as well. He doesn't hold anything back. And mind you, on days like this, in the hot humidity of the East Coast, they would play doubleheaders a lot.
Yes, you're right.
Jerry has told me many a time that you would go through 6, 7 jerseys a game.
Imagine that wool getting wet from the sweat, and then how much heavier they are.
No, thank you. 1-2 lifted into shallow right center field. Edmonds is over for it, and he'll make the catch, and that's out number 1. That'll bring up the switch hitter Orlando Hudson. This is the final game of a brief 5-game homestand for the Padres. They head out now on a long East Coast road trip, departing tomorrow for Philadelphia, and then sandwiched in between a trip to Florida is Atlanta. I probably got that the other way around. I think it goes
Philly, Florida, Atlanta.
Florida, Atlanta. Yep. Nonetheless, you guys will be away for quite some time with an off day in the middle there in Atlanta.
And all those teams doing quite well as Young dives back safely. You start off the road trip with Philadelphia. They're half game out in the East. And then you go down to Florida. They're in first place. And then Atlanta only 2 games out in the East in 4th place.
Hudson looks at a fastball high and away. 1 ball and no strikes.
And Jake's already talking to himself out there. Has not been sharp right out of the gate, and he knows that.
Yeah, the 4-pitch walk to Chris Young, and then the battle with Burns, bringing up Hudson with 1 out and a man on. Two balls and no strikes. By Jake's standards, he's coming off his roughest outing of the year. Scored upon 4 times on Monday in Houston. 6 innings pitched, 7 hits. All 4 of those runs were earned, and he struck out just 2, which is a season low. And uncharacteristically gave up a couple of long balls, though you could excuse that in that ballpark. Hudson skies it into center. Green going out. Edmonds coming on, and he makes the catch. May have a chance to double up Young at first. That's a tough position for a runner to be in right there. Edmonds with a nice catch, and there are 2 away.
Well, Jimmy Edmonds wearing the eye black. The glare out there, you can see he's yelling, I've got it, I've got it, I've got it. But he kind of had a flash look to Khalil Green to see if he was going to take over. Tough play for Khalil Green. And Jim Edmonds making up the difference and making the basket shoelace catch. And then Adrian Deaconum trying to pull the old college ball got away from him trick.
He's done that a lot to open up the season.
Hey, even if he does it 100 times and 99 doesn't work on that one try.
It's like making those sales calls, right?
Yeah.
That'll bring up Connor Jackson. Jackson with outstanding career numbers against Jake Peavy. 364. That's an 8 for 22 clip. And Connor Jackson's just been tearing up the National League. You just saw that 351 batting average puts him in the top 10 to open up this Sunday.
You know, we've talked about those first inning runs also by the Diamondbacks. If Jake Peavy can throw up a bagel here in the first, that's a plus.
And he's ahead now on Jackson. No balls and 2 strikes.
Guy they call Kojak. And anybody's going to have a tough time with that slider right on the outside corner.
Noticed he's not swinging down to his knee like he did on Friday night. Will Ledesma delivering that message loud and clear. The 0-2 to short. Green up with it. Green will go across the diamond. Jackson is retired, and so too are the Diamondbacks here in their half of the first inning. Half inning gone by downtown. We're scoreless. Here's how manager Bud Black has set his lineup for the series finale. The Padres starting lineup brought to you by all 6 Massey Nissan locations. Nothing but lefties off the top 3. Giles, McAnulty, Gonzalez, Kuzminoff, Edmonds, Green to follow. Iguchi, Bard, and Peavy against Brandon Webb. And set to go to work. Standing in the box is Giles, and he delivers the first pitch deep to left field, and Eric Burns has it. No trouble on the track for out number 1. Brandon Webb making his 6th start of the season. He is the 2006 Cy Young Award winner in the National League.
Sinker, sinker, sinker. Occasional breaking ball. And you see the numbers in those 5 starts. The opposing batting average at 188. The infielders will be ready if Brandon Webb is on his game. Those 2 seamers like hitting a shot put. A heavy sinker from the right-hander.
Bud Black has 4 left-handed hitters in his lineup and 1 switch hitter down at the number 8 spot in Josh Bard, and that's how they'll try and attack Brandon Webb today, who looks to start the 08 season with his 6th win in April. McAnulty into center field. That's going to fall for a base hit. One out, one on. Adrian Gonzalez coming up.
Well, as I mentioned in the pregame show, look at this sinker, how it's up, and it really doesn't bite like it would if it was down around the knees. That starts around the belt buckle and ends up about thigh high. And it'll be interesting to see also this afternoon, Steve, how many times to the left-handed hitters does Brandon Webb actually come inside? If a guy's throwing a sinker ball middle away, 8 times out of 10, you just pick that spot out and you try to utilize going the other way, and that's exactly, I think, what PMAC did.
Adrian Gonzalez, the batter now, and he looks at strike 1. Adrian Gonzalez 3 for 10 here in this series. Really the only Friar that has done anything offensively here against the Diamondbacks in this 3-game series. And he rolls over on a breaking ball, and this might be 2, and it will not be 2 as Webb could not find the bag there at first. McAnulty erased at second, and Webb a little problem with the footing down there, and Adrian Gonzalez is going to reach on the fielder's choice.
I'm just glad nobody gets hurt on that play because somebody could blow out an Achilles or get a spike in the calf. Here's the first end. Jackson to Drew. Oh, that could have been nasty for Gonzalez and for Brandon Webb. Luckily, it's just a little love tap.
Kevin Kuzminoff now.
He rolled his ankle there a little bit too. Ooh. Speaking of ankles, how about Micah Owings yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday pulling into second. The good hitting pitcher rolled that ankle at second. He's okay though. The Diamondbacks had a couple casualties from yesterday. Justin Upton we will not see, tweaked a hammy. Should return to their lineup tomorrow, and then Owings rolling that ankle at second. Of course, he won't pitch for another 4 days, so they've got some time to work it out there. And the Diamondbacks also making a move before this ball game, but it had nothing to do with either one of those guys. They sent yesterday's losing pitcher Yusmeiro Petit down to AAA and called up their #1 pick of a couple of years ago, Max Scherzer, who's been outstanding at AAA Tucson.
How come every time somebody mentions Tucson, I get shivers down my spine? Because backing up third all those times at High Corbett Field.
1993. Is that the only year you spent there?
Pitching in Tucson is like pitching on the moon.
Koosman off with a moon shot that will hook foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Coos.
Well, my years in the PCL, and then of course as a Tucson Toro in '93, roughly.
That wasn't a bad ballpark though at High Corbett Field to pitch in.
It was for me.
There were a lot of bad ballparks. The new one that they have, by the way, a lame duck franchise there in Tucson, moving to Reno. New ballpark, oh boy, I could hit it out of there. This should end the inning. The 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, Orlando Hudson, up with it, and he retires Kevin Koosman off. Nothing in the San Diego first.
Bring your mom to the game for Mother's Day, Sunday, May 11th at 1:05 as we play the Rockies, and get a Mother's Day pin.
Get your tickets today and save at Padres.com. Mother's Day pins presented by Scripps Health.
Call your mom, tell you love her. Right?
Yes.
Sorry about that, Steve.
Mark Reynolds first to face Peavy here in the Arizona half of the second. Stephen Drew and Jeff Salazar will follow. Jake Peavy atop the bump there in pursuit of career number, win number 80 in a Friar uniform. Already 3rd on the all-time franchise win chart.
Oh, he's going to surpass that.
Yeah, the new extension that'll keep him here for a while.
Of course, the all-time Friar career victories is Eric Shaw at an even 100.
Boy, Jake perhaps gets there this year. Not to put any added pressure on him.
No, that would be nice. Let's make him a 30-game winner, just like Denny McClain, huh?
If he gets to 100, mean he's a 24-game winner. What in the Dwight Gooden is that?
Well, he's got the stuff to do it, that's for sure. Changing the arm angle a little bit on that breaking ball. Watch how he'll lower it just a little bit, give the hitter a different type of look.
The 2-2 plate word goes with a slider, and it missed. Good plate discipline right there for Reynolds. There's a lot of guys that would fish for that.
You know, that's the one thing about it. You make a good point. The Diamondbacks and the Padres playing each other so many times within the division, and still the success of a guy like Jake Peavy against them.
Got him on the outside corner. Reynolds not happy with the call by home plate umpire Chuck Merriweather, and he's Peavy's first K of the afternoon.
Looked like a pretty good pitch on that outside. He went back to the slider. Oh, that looks pretty darn good from here.
And Mark Reynolds certainly going to remember his first ever at bat against Jake Peavy. Here's Stephen Drew. Well, Jake has really enjoyed pitching here at Petco Park. Loving that home cooking. 1 earned run now in 25 innings pitched this season at Petco Park. And you know, can you recall, just thought of this right now, the one time the run scored, how it scored? I'll give you a second.
Was it this year?
Yes. 2-1 now. I'll let everyone at home,
was it a
too,
sac
see if they can
fly or a
remember.
wild pitch or something like that?
It was an odd play you probably won't see again for another 5 years. Against the Dodgers, Saturday afternoon telecast on Fox.
Okay, maybe that's why I didn't see it.
Josh Bard, remember chasing the foul pop?
Yes.
And slid and caught the ball and went into the dugout?
Yes.
And that allowed the runner at third to score?
I do remember seeing that or hearing about it.
And if he doesn't slide into the dugout, the runner at third never scores, and Peavy's working on a streak now of 25 in a row scoreless at home to open the season.
And you know, when you're a player like Josh Bard or anybody, you're not going to, you know, when you're going for a foul ball like that, you're not going to all of a sudden, you know, get the rule book out of your back pocket. Oh, can I slide in the dugout, or, you know, what's the story? They're going to go all out and try to make the play.
Stephen Drew draws a 1-out walk, and that is Peavy's second walk of the afternoon.
Jake trying to go with the backdoor slider and misses.
Here's
Next pitch will be the 30th for Jake Peavy.
Here's Jeff Salazar getting a start in right field. Justin Upton tweaking a hammy yesterday, and the 20-year-old phenom can't go today. They're not quite sure if it's a strain or just a cramp, but it certainly wasn't feeling good enough to allow him to make a start today. So with this comfortable 6-game lead that they have in the NL West, they will err on the side of caution. Here's the 1-0 home, and Salazar swings and misses.
You know, we've talked about some of the guys in this Diamondback team, like Micah Owings and Upton having the hamstring situation. There's been a little bit of a flu bug going around too. So not only the injuries as far as to parts of the body, but as far as upper respiratory infections, stuff like that going around.
Yeah, the guy waiting on deck, Chris Snyder, came down with the flu bug once the team got here to San Diego. Probably wasn't going to catch on Friday because Randy Johnson prefers Miguel Montero to catch. Snyder should have been in there yesterday, and that is a called strike 3. Outer half, and Salazar not happy with Merriweather. Strikeout number 2 of the inning and the ball game for Jake Peavy.
Well, Merriweather it is. It's about 90 degrees, partly cloudy, and a merry pitch on the outside part of the plate with the backdoor slider.
Chris Snyder now. This SAP telecast brought to you by Sequan Casino. Play ball in Espanol. Who's translating? You don't have to hit the cough button and translate.
Cuidado.
Little League Day here at the ballpark. Perfect day to bring the kids on, dress them up in their uniforms, and weather a 91-degree day. Chris Snyder, his first appearance of this series. When we saw him last week over there at Chase Field in Phoenix, he was really struggling. The batting average, that is, well below 200. He's now up to 204.
You know, when Jake's missing, he's not missing by much this afternoon early on.
The 1-1 home to Snyder, and he popped it up. That's going to get out of play. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the fans sensing perhaps that Jake here can put away his 3rd of the inning on strikes. And that one is smoked deep left center field. McAnulty going back, still going back, and it's gone. And the Diamondbacks with a 2-run home run here in the 2nd inning. And Snyder with his first home run of the season, RBIs 11 and 12. And what's significant about that for Snyder is it's his first career hit in 12 at-bats against Jake Peavy.
Wow. The number 8 hitter, Chris Snyder, a 1-2 pitch. Jake is ahead in the count, and that ball leaks. You can tell by the pitch track. Leaks right over the heart of the plate. He wanted that one down and away to the deepest part towards that bullpen at 401 on the fence.
Now he smoked that. That's got to be a 410-foot shot. And Jake wasting no time against Webb here.
Only the 4th home run given up this year in this early part of the year for Jake Peavy.
And that's strike 3 called. Peavy strikes out 3 here in the second. However, the 2-out 2-run home run by Chris Snyder has the Diamondbacks out to a 2-0 lead. Padre games are more fun with friends, family, or co-workers. Groups as small as 25 people can save big over gate prices, receive a scoreboard welcome, and much more. Reserve your Padre group tickets today by calling 619-795-5500. Well, the 2006 reigning Cy Young Award winner Brandon Webb on this hot afternoon has been staked to a 2-0 lead. That's some shot you would see in St. Louis, in August.
What's nice about the umbrella out there is that you can see there's a little bit of a breeze, so it's not like stagnant air. It's just not smoking and steaming.
This is an SBF 50 day. Edmonds, Green, and Iguchi against Webb. A ground ball to first. And Webb covering, and that is out number 1 to open up the second. Well, the defense behind Webb brought to you by SD Storage with 9 locations to serve you. Go to sdstorage.com. Salazar out there in right for Upton. Hudson and Drew up the middle. And Snyder for the first time behind the plate.
I'd like to wish a happy haircut to Khalil Green.
That's right. And he has a base hit. Hudson had him shaded over, more to go up the middle.
Looks like Green, he's tightened it up a little bit, and he tightens up that swing. Taking the sinker baller to right field. The defense, as we just mentioned, was playing him to take that ball up the middle of the diamond.
Well, yesterday's 13-inning hero, Tadahito Iguchi, the batter now. His walk-off shot against Yusmeiro Petit yesterday broke San Diego's 5-game losing streak. And the Padres also able to gain a game on Arizona in the standings as a result. And it was Iguchi's first home run of the season, first one in a Padre uniform. Let's see if our bottom, our 7 or 8 hitter now with a little 2-run shot, even this thing back up. Certainly I like San Diego's chances much better on a hot day here at Petco. High chopper, going to be tough to double him off. And the throw to first. Iguchi is the second out of the inning. Green into scoring position. 2 away, and Josh Bard will be the batter. Josh Bard, the switch hitter, has had good numbers in his career against Brandon Webb. 6 for 16 with a home run. And a chance now with a runner in scoring position to cut that lead in half.
A couple of times now, Brandon Webb has started off the left-handed hitters with that straighten up sinker. Starts it on the inner half of the plate, and then bang, it goes right over the heart of the plate or the inner third. It's a nice first pitch.
Guys certainly beating it into the ground quite a bit here in this second inning. With a base open, a good hitting pitcher, Jake Peavy, waits on deck.
Yeah, only 1 fly ball so far. That was the lead off the game. The fly ball to the left off the bat of Brian Giles.
Yep, on the game's first pitch. Two balls and a strike to Josh Bard. Brandon Webb is 5-0 after 5 starts, and as we mentioned, looking to go 6-0 in April. And the best start to a season in franchise history, the high water mark, if you will, Randy Johnson's 7 consecutive victories to begin the 2000 season. And the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Josh Bard.
Here's that pitch I was talking about, that sinker on the inner part to the lefties, and according to the pitch track, right on the corner. It's going back in there.
And the 2-2 is slapped foul out of play.
Tried to double him up.
So if you're Webb now, you got the base open at first. It's 2-0 with the pitching matchup. It looks like he's going after him. I mean, certainly you want to get Bard and let Peavy lead off the third. Is that the better scenario here?
I think he's going to throw him his best stuff, hard sinker.
Swing and a miss.
Oh, something else.
It looked like he took it off it, maybe like a slider or a curveball there from Webb. End result, the Padres taken care of in the second. 2-0 Arizona. Our high-definition pictures brought to you by Sequan Casino, celebrating 25 years of play. We move to the Arizona half of the third inning. Chris Young, Eric Burns, and Orlando Hudson against Jake Peavy. Jake gave up a 2-out, 2-run home run off the bat of number 8 batter Chris Snyder in the second, and that's how we've arrived at 2-0. Chris Young walked on 4 pitches to open up this ball game. Let's go back to the end of the last half inning. This is Webb against Bard. We were trying to figure out what kind of a pitch it was.
Changeup.
And it was, in fact.
With 2 strikes, you know, Brandon Webb is going to the changeup often rather than going with a slider or, you know, his sinker ball. If he needs a punch out, he's been going to that changeup.
Very effective out pitch.
Oh, it's a nasty one. It's a good one.
And Young chases one out of the zone. He is a strikeout victim. That is the 4th of the afternoon for Jake Peavy.
Well, while we're on the subject of strikeouts, that's the old snappy slider. Slider out the hat shell. He gone.
Of the 4 strikeouts, it's been the slider for strike number 3 on 3 of the 4 batters. And that is pulled to short off the bat of Eric Burns. That's the second out here in the third. Orlando Hudson coming up. And I think we spoke about this in the open about how Jake has done fairly well and fared fairly well against Arizona here at Petco Park in 9 career games. And he's already had 19 decisions in his career against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And while the numbers aren't like those of Maddox and Young, who have struggled against this uniform, Jake is just 10-9 lifetime against Arizona, and the career ERA is above 5. And it happens to be the highest ERA he has against any National League opponent. So it hasn't always come easy. Now, there certainly have been memorable games. I think back to the 16 strikeout performance almost a year ago to the day in Phoenix. And then, of course, last September when he was starting on 3 days rest in the pennant push, it certainly didn't go as planned. Two and two now on Hudson. Full count.
Boy, a lot of pitches already for Jake. That was the 51st pitch.
And Mudd, the 4th 3-ball count already this game as we play here in the third. Got him.
Yes, sir.
Jake Peavy with 5 punch outs here through 2.5. Let's go to the last half of the third inning. It remains 2-0 Arizona. Oh man, that's tough to hit. Padres baseball brought to you in part by the Fish Market, seafood market and restaurant with locations in Del Mar, Mission Valley, and downtown. By Aflac, ask about it at work. And by Frazee Paint, our passion, your results. Well, it feels as if it's cooled down just a bit, though we're in an air-conditioned press box here. It was 91 at first pitch.
You get a little bit of a breeze up here.
Got a little bit of a cloud cover as well. Jake Peavy might find his way on. Ranging behind the bag is Drew, and he'll put an end to that thought. And Jake Peavy is out number 1. So strolling plateward now is Brian Giles, and Brian Giles went yard yesterday for the San Diego Padres. And that was home run number 3 and the first here in San Diego in 91 innings. At least from the Friars standpoint.
It's the 4th time that Brian Giles has taken Micah Owings deep in his career. He went down and got that one too. Watching that replay, that wasn't a pitch that was elevated around the belt buckle. He went down and got it.
Giles flew to left to open up the ball game and sent the very first pitch he saw out there to left field.
You know, you can't try to yank the ball out of the ballpark against sinker ball pitchers. I mean, these guys are so good. These hitters are so good that if they recognize a pitch that's up, yeah, you can try to turn on it if it's around that belt buckle or maybe even a little higher. But if Brandon Webb is on his game, like a Jake Peavy on his game, keeping everything down, the best thing to do is just try to make good solid contact and let the bat do the work.
First 3-ball count of the game for Webb, and he gets it in there for a strike. I think that was Giles's approach there in the first inning. He's always a guy that's worked the count. He was probably thinking the same thing. Hey, if I see a fastball that doesn't have too much sink to it, let's try and put it in play. Full now, 3-2 on Giles. Padres have 2 singles in the game, and they've had a base runner in each of the first 2 innings against Webb. Pulled to second. Hudson with the underhand toss to Jackson at first, 2 away. They've got 5 ground ball outs already by Brandon Webb. Paul McAnulty now.
First pitch, Cambio. That's a changeup.
Bob Scanlon, who is fluent in Spanish, teaching me that during one of the pregame shows earlier on this homestand.
Yeah, Cambio change.
Yes, it was. I think it was one of Scan's keys to the game. And boy, he hit the nail on the head, because it was talking about Tim Lincecum with the 2-strike. Beware of the 2-strike Cambio. And that was certainly something that Adrian Gonzalez saw quite a bit of in that start.
Well, you know, there are times when offenses are not clicking, and then there are times when there's offenses that aren't clicking that face a guy who is nasty.
Right.
I didn't do the game that night, but Lincecum was just unbelievable.
2-2 on Paul McAnulty. His fastball was up at 98.
Wow. Brandon Webb getting the call there, it looks like.
What I remember about Lincecum, first pitch of the game 98, 98th pitch of the game 98. Another ground ball to short, and Drew throws out McAnulty, and for the first time this afternoon the Padres retired in order. 3 complete downtown, 2-0 Diamondbacks. The Aflac trivia question leads off the Diamondbacks half of the 4th inning. We ask you on this Sunday afternoon, who was the last left-handed pitcher to win the National League Cy Young Award? Well, it's appropriate today as we have the 2006 Cy Young Award winner facing the 2000 National League Cy Young Award winner, and you're looking at Jake, who picked up the hardware before yesterday's game. Jackson, Reynolds, and Drew here in the 4th, a 2-0 lead, and Jackson first pitch swinging, grounds it to third. And that'll bring up Reynolds with 1 out. Here's a good sign prior to the ball game. Mark Pryor throwing a bullpen here at Petco Park in a Padre uniform. Out of extended spring training, and maybe on his way to a rehab assignment soon.
Well, that's a good sign. If Mark Pryor can get back to the days of old after having the injuries. You know, talking to Darren Balsley, he said, you know, he's really excited to work with him. And I think for Mark Pryor, it should be a bonus to have a guy like Darren Balsley as a pitching coach.
Mark's been on a couple of trips. I remember him after the 22-inning game being on the flight to Phoenix, hanging around Darren, throwing as much as he can. He's had a few setbacks.
Have you had a chance to meet Mark yet?
I met him when I was working at KUSI, when he was like at USC or with the Cubs a couple times, but not since he's donned a Padre uniform.
He's a good egg.
I've heard nothing but good things about him. 2-2 on Reynolds, who was Peavy's first strikeout victim of the ball game. Went down on a slider to open the second and wasn't happy about it.
It'd be nice for Jake to have a quick inning as far as pitches are concerned. Ooh, not by much there.
And another 3-ball count.
Yeah, the deep counts really affecting the pitch limit, but that doesn't really affect Jake that much.
And he went right after him, and a swing and a miss, and Reynolds is down on strikes. 6th punch out of the afternoon for Peavy.
Well, Jake might have 59 pitches after that strikeout there, but you know the next guy, Drew, might swing at one of the first 2 pitches. You get a quick out there, and then maybe in the 5th inning you have an 8-pitch inning or so.
Jake has retired now 6 in a row after the 2-out home run in the 2nd inning. But what stings the most about that, too, you had Snyder right where you want him, 1-2.
Yep.
He had gone 0 for 11 in his career, had Snyder against Jake. And then just got one in the zone, a mistake. And he planted about 410 feet away into the Padre bullpen. Drew was on ahead of Snyder in that 2nd inning and scored Arizona's first run. That's right down the heart of the plate. Even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Fans sensing Jake's 7th punch out of the afternoon. And he went with a breaking ball, and it's pulled to second. Iguchi has it, and the Diamondbacks are retired in order in the 4th. 2-0 Arizona. Let's answer the Aflac trivia question. Half inning ago, we asked you who was the last left-handed pitcher to win the NL Cy Young Award. He's in uniform this afternoon. It would be Randy Johnson in 2002. The last of 4 straight Cy Young Awards for him.
The unit that is larger than most. Yes. He's probably in the clubhouse right now. Kicked back in the Barca Lounger. He's good. He's really good.
He was a treat to watch on Friday.
Should have seen him back in the day. Blowing about 99.
I mean, he looked like Randy Johnson of 2001. You know, the guy that would come to Qualcomm Stadium, pitch 7 shutout innings and give up 1 hit.
He's a pitcher now, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He sets up hitters. He's got that split finger fastball and the biting slider.
I thought he had particularly good location, too, with that split finger. Kept it right on the corner away from the hitters. After Adrian Gonzalez, Kevin Kuzminoff, and then Jim Edmonds here in the 4th against Brandon Webb. This is something we touched upon in the open, but Webb hasn't had much success in the past against the Friars. Just 4 wins in 19 starts. San Diego's beat him 7 times, though the ERA a respectable 3.78. I really thought in 2006 they beat him enough times, especially down the stretch when the Padres hung on to win the NL West, that they would have denied him the Cy Young and Trevor Hoffman would have picked it up. Voters obviously didn't feel the same way as many of us in San Diego. 3 balls and 2 strikes now on Adrian Gonzalez. San Diego has not had the lead man off yet in this game, or the lead man on, I should say. And they will in fact have the lead man on to open the 4th. Brandon Webb with his first walk of the afternoon. Kevin Kuzminoff now with a runner on.
You know, in a game like this, when you've got Peavy and Webb, and if both guys are on their game, and up to this point, only one pitch has been the difference in this game, there's really no room for error. And up to this point, the one room for error was that one pitch to Chris Snyder. So when you've got a guy like Webb who's been effective on the road this year, batting average against at 147, got to try to string together some hits and try to counter and get those 2 runs back. He's been unbelievable this year on the road.
Kuz with a ground ball off the glove of the 3-time Gold Glove winner Orlando Hudson. Motoring to third, and in safely there is Gonzalez, and they're at the corners with nobody out. That's a rarity right there, and they're going to hang an error on Hudson.
I think that's a very makeable play for the Gold Glover. I think he played this into an error because the chopper off the bat, it looked like Hudson may have had time to get in front of that, but he tried instead to do the Olay. And that's what I'm saying. It's a play like that that can make the difference in the Padres getting back in this game.
Yeah, just ask Chris Young about on this homestand making one mistake that will cost you. Think back to the pitch to Rich Aurelia. So here's Jim Edmonds, more than overdue on the homestand. He comes to the plate 0 for 11 on this 5-game homestand. And Edmonds' first pitch swinging sends it deep into left field. Burns will make the catch. Tagging is Adrian Gonzalez. He will score, and it's 2-1 Arizona. Run batted in, number 6 of the season for Edmonds.
With the sinker baller out there, Jim Edmonds does a fine job of getting something to elevate to the outfield. That's his objective during that at bat.
Khalil Green now with 1 out, and Kuzminoff the tying run down at first. That error by Orlando Hudson was his 3rd of the season, and he won Gold Gloves in 05 with Toronto, 06 and 07 with Arizona, and has had double-digit errors the last couple of years. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes on Green. His single in the 2nd inning came with 1 out. Orlando Hudson was playing him more to go up the middle towards second. And Green was able to shoot it right past him out into right field. And he swings and misses right here at a changeup, and down on strikes goes Khalil Green. Time for the Coors Light Cold Hard Blast. And we go back to yesterday, the 13th inning. Tadahito Iguchi with a walk-off in the 13th inning. And the Iguchi home run at the time had been San Diego's only hit in the last 7 innings of that game. I guess that illustrates more the point of how badly it was needed, but probably more for the psyche of the team, who had lost 5 in a row and 9 of their last 10.
Oh yeah, that one would have been a tough one to lose. They needed that one big time.
And again involved in another one of these extra inning affairs. Hey, I like to get value for my baseball, but this cost averaging you know, ticket price over 22 innings ain't cool. And Iguchi goes the opposite way to right field. Salazar will give chase, but will run out of room. What I didn't realize was that was San Diego's first extra inning victory since August of last year when they beat the Mets. So it had been particularly heartbreaking for that man, who's trying to go for career win number 100 this afternoon as a manager.
It'd be nice to get that number 100 here at home, last day of the homestand, before the Friar hits the road.
You just think all the extra work, how taxing it's been on the Padre pitching staff.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's our Marvin K. Brown comparison. Marvin K. Brown and GMC, we are professional grade. You see, Padres have played 4 extra inning games this season. They've played 21 extra inning games last season, tied for the most in the major leagues. But this year, they've played a total of 23 extra innings. That means the pitching staff leads the majors in innings pitched with 242 already. We're not even out of April as they pitch out. 12 more than anybody else has worked anywhere in baseball. I mean, a guy down there at first base like Kevin Kuzminoff, leading the major leagues with 109 at-bats. Are you supposed to get 109 at-bats in April?
That's a good call. And you know what? It doesn't take a rocket scientist either to figure out that games like that, back-to-back or maybe 2 a homestand, that has repercussions not just the next day, but for weeks to come.
And I think the 22-inning game, you know, we felt the repercussions on this 5-game homestand.
I mean, I can't even form a sentence. I mean, it's April 27th, and I still haven't. I mean, I'm a wreck as it is already, butchering the Queen's English. But come on. A 22-inning game for me? I'm still feeling it.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs on Iguchi. Kuzminoff will be away with a pitch.
This at-bat started 0-2. It didn't start 0-2, but what I'm saying is Webb was ahead of Iguchi 0-2. Now he's worked it full.
And a chopper, and it will stay foul as Reynolds gloves it in foul ground, and Iguchi will get another opportunity. And we have seen that quite a bit already through the first 4 innings of this game.
Remember, he did that last time up, bounced the ball off the plate. It was that high chopper over the mound.
Yeah, Stephen Drew fielded it at short and was able to throw out Iguchi for the second out in the second. Took something off that time, and it's pulled foul. A little less zip there on that fastball. That one clocked at 89.
He can do so many things with that sinker. He can straighten it out a little bit more, giddy up. Can take a little bit off, create more movement, and plus don't forget that changeup. Will he throw it here 3-2 after a couple of foul balls? Huh.
Oh,
there it is.
Good call, swing and a miss. Down on strikes goes Iguchi, and the Padres are retired in the 4th, but they do get a run back. And after 4 complete downtown, we head to the 5th. It's now 2-1 Arizona.
Our mid-game recap brought to you by Murray Lamper Construction. Need to remodel your home? Call Murray Lamper Construction, the 2007 Torch Award finalist for Marketplace Ethics.
Jeff Salazar leads things off here in the visiting half of the 5th inning. Bottom three against Peavy, Snyder, and Webb to follow. 2-1, the Diamondbacks with a lead. Diamondbacks getting both of their runs in the second inning on a Chris Snyder 2-run home run.
You think back in that second inning with that home run, Jake was one pitch away from getting out of that mess. It was a 1-2 count, and it was a pitch that just leaked over the heart of the plate, and Snyder capitalized.
You would think on a day like this where it's 92 and hot and the wind slightly blowing out, perhaps we would see a little more offense. Of course, the pitching matchup is a darn good one. Might not allow for a lot of runs, but what we've seen in day games already this season for San Diego, Padres have 13 runs scored in 3 Petco Park day games, not including what they've done here today, the 1 run. And I know it's a small sampling, but you might see a statistical trend just a bit. Salazar slaps one into center. Edmonds has it. And Jake has found his rhythm. 8 in a row retired since Snyder's 2-run home run in the second.
It'll be interesting to see how Jake goes against the Diamondback backstop.
You can talk all you want about runs being scored in the daytime here for the San Diego Padres, but they're 6-1 already in day games here in the 2008 season. That's the only thing that counts.
Have we taken a formal poll of the players of what they like? Guys like day games better than night games?
Oh, I bet you they would say day games if they had their choice. Perhaps not on record.
I wish more teams would schedule day games on getaway days, so we're not getting in at 3:34 in the morning.
I'm with you there.
Amen to that, brother.
And Peavy had Snyder exactly where he had him back in the second inning at 1 ball and 2 strikes, and this time doesn't offer up a fastball down the middle.
Well, that was a little chum, the slider down and away. Does he go back out there?
He most certainly does, and Snyder lays off. Again, we're back full at 3 balls and 2 strikes. 6th 3-ball count of the game for Peavy, who has thrown 75 pitches now here in this start.
I'm guessing a good located fastball for Chris Snyder.
Turn up the heat a little bit here. Well, he missed outside with it at 92. And Jake yelling at himself right here as he walks his 3rd of the ball game. And that'll bring up the pitcher Brandon Webb, with the number 8 batter for Arizona, with the 2-run home run and the walk here with 1 out in the 5th. Brandon Webb has a couple of sacrifice hits this season, and the corners are in now. And he shows bunt and bunts the first one foul, 0-1. Strike 2. Now, you were talking about scheduling more day games, on getaway day. The Diamondbacks here not happy with the schedule makers, playing their last of 22 straight against NL West teams. And it's going to come to an end this afternoon. And Webb showing bunt again on 0-2.
Well, they shouldn't be complaining that much because they're 16-5 against the West. I mean, that's You talk about a great way to start the season out against your own division and create that gap. You know, going into today's game, the Diamondbacks with a 6-game lead in the West.
2-2. Yeah, they're currently 16-5 against NL West teams over that 3-week span, and they thus lead the West by 6 games. You know, their biggest lead last year was only 5. And Webb bunts it foul, and that's a strikeout. It's the 7th of the afternoon for Jake Peavy. Sacrifice unsuccessful. Chris Young now with 2 outs and a runner down at first. Though after the 22 straight against the NL West and it coming to an end this afternoon, they're going to open up a series at home against Houston tomorrow and then proceed to play only 2 more series against NL West teams between now and July the 4th. And the Padres will be in kind of a similar situation. They're heading out east tomorrow with a stop in Philly, Florida, and Atlanta. Bouncing ball to short, and Green will step on the bag himself to force out Snyder at second. Halfway home this afternoon, 2-1 Arizona. High-definition pictures of San Diego Padre baseball brought to you by Sequan Casino, celebrating 25 years of play. Well, as we welcome you back to Petco Park, Steve Quist alongside Mark Grant. The 2006 Cy Young Award winner has a 1-run lead, and again, it's another one of these 1-run, low-scoring, very little offensive output by either team games here at Petco.
As advertised, huh? Great pitcher Brandon Webb, great pitcher Jake Peavy, and this game so far has boiled down to a couple of mistakes. One is the mistake by Peavy giving up the 2-run shot, a bad pitch as far as location is concerned, and the error by the O-Dog Orlando Hudson at second base, which led to a run in the bottom half of the 4th for San Diego.
So here we go to the last half of the 5th inning. Bard, Peavy, and then Giles scheduled against Webb.
One of the very few breaking balls that we've seen from Brandon Webb.
Yeah, 56 pitches. We've seen a lot of changeups. Changeup has been his out pitch on his 3 strikeouts here this afternoon. And Bard out in front of a changeup right there. No balls and 2 strikes.
So first pitch curveball, 3rd time around. 2nd time around for Bard. He hasn't even seen the good old number 1 yet.
As we mentioned, he's had great success against Webb, and at this point, Brandon Webb determined not to let it happen again here on Sunday. Josh Bard was 6 for 16 with a home run against Webb coming into play. I mean, it was a changeup with 2 strikes in the 2nd inning that struck out Bard. And he's going to pull this one to Orlando Hudson at second. And Jake Peavy coming up with 1 out. Brandon Webb has won 7 straight regular season starts dating back to last September. And if he wins this one, he's going to have quite an enjoyable April, going 6-0. And in each one of his starts this season, all the numbers have added up to the point where he averages 7 innings pitched per start. So he'll be out there at least, I would say, 3 more frames. And Peavy rips one fair inside the bag at 3rd. That fan had it right. Let's go Peavy, and he delivers with a stand-up double. Man, he's having an outstanding year at the plate.
Get that bat head out in front and just inside the pillow. Nice job by the security down there, letting that ball get by. Way to help your own cause there, right-hander.
Peavy's 4 for 12 now at the plate this season. Micah Owings is probably down there just getting ready to send him a congratulatory email.
First pitch breaking ball to Brian Giles. Just like to Josh Bard to lead off this inning.
Giles lays off. They'll appeal down to third, and no, says Tim Welke.
We got a pitching coach down there in the stands.
By the way, that was Jake's first extra base hit of the season. 3 singles and a double now. And Giles lays off a 2-0 pitch, and it's now 3 balls and no strikes. Paul McAnulty waiting on deck. He has one of the 3 San Diego hits so far. A 4-pitch walk. Giles on for the first time this afternoon, and the walk is the second of the ball game by Brandon Webb, who's now thrown 65 pitches, and Paul McAnulty with an opportunity. Again, you have to temper your excitement though against Webb when you get a couple guys on.
Well, you know what I was thinking there, that whole at bat. I think Webb would rather face the not so much of a veteran type guy like McAnulty than Brian Giles. And plus now you've got to force it any base. You can set up a double play.
And he gets him to roll over one. This will not be a double play. Jackson will take it himself, and the runners will move up. And that was going to be my point exactly. I mean, you know, you get excited, you got runners at first and second, but nobody induces ground balls better than Webb, and he got one there.
Now it looks like Snyder's going to have a little chat with his right-hander. You've got the left-hander Gonzalez up at the plate and the right-hander Kuzminov on deck.
Now this will be interesting here because Adrian Gonzalez has had terrific career numbers against Webb, a .357 clip coming in with a pretty big sampling as well. He walked and scored San Diego's only run in the 4th inning. On deck, Kevin Kuzminov is 5 for 14 lifetime. And that's a strike to Gonzalez. One ball and 1 strike on Adrian Gonzalez. 17 runs batted in for Adrian. 3 hits in this series, the most by any Padre against the Diamondbacks in this 3-game set. And he keeps it away. 2 balls and a strike.
That wasn't even close.
Do you get the sense pitch around?
Yeah, usually, you know, the first pitch will indicate a lot, but the second pitch even more. Brandon Webb, you know, he's pretty much around the plate. He missed big time on that one.
Jake Peavy is the tying run at third. Brian Giles the go-ahead run at second as we play in the last of the 5th. And he went after him, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. I didn't think that Adrian was going to see a hittable fastball in this turn, to be honest with you. That might have been the one and only one he'll see. 3 balls and 2 strikes now on Adrian Gonzalez. Best opportunity for San Diego here in this ball game.
Remember, he still has that changeup tucked in his back pocket.
I was just thinking the same thing.
First base open. If he misses, you got a right-hander on deck. Take your chances with a force out.
Oh, and he went with it. And Adrian laid off. And Kevin Kuzmanov's going to get an opportunity here.
Good discipline by Adrian Gonzalez. And let's check out the Carl's Jr. pitch track. First pitch inside corner for a strike. Off the plate inside. So inside, not even close there. That was the one pitch that Adrian had the whole at bat. He waits out there, and then watching the changeup earlier during the ball game, he recognizes that one. His patience pays off. Now Kevin Kuzmanov has got a chance to drive in a couple.
3 walks for Webb. And Kuzmanov fights one off the fists. Strike 1. There are Kevin's numbers, career with the bases loaded, and of course one of those 2 grand slams coming on the very first pitch he saw as a member of the Cleveland Indians. And Webb ahead, no balls and 2 strikes.
You know, it's got to be so tough to hit a sinker ball like Brandon Webb. It's like if I were to stand in front of you and you got a bat in your hand and I got a ball in my hand, and I'm going to say, okay, when I let go of this ball, swing at it.
Yeah.
It's like it just disappears on you. And as a hitter, you see that ball out there. As soon as you commit, bam, it's off the table.
And Kevin likes to go the opposite way. This is a particularly tough at bat, and he's going to go down on 3 pitches. Got him with a changeup there. Of the 4 strikeouts for Webb this afternoon, it's been the changeup each and every time. Well, Jake Peavy in pursuit of his 4th win against no defeats on the season. His team trails it by a run. It is 2-1 in favor of the Diamondbacks. Peavy with 7 strikeouts and 3 walks.
Did you ever notice anything about Jake during his warm-ups? He never goes 100% in his warm-ups. He just goes down the hill and just tosses that rock towards the plate just to get the juices flowing again, but never 100%.
Burns, Hudson, and Jackson scheduled against Jake Peavy here in the 6th inning. The difference in the ballgame has been that 2-run home run by Chris Snyder in the 2nd. Peavy will be called off by Kevin Kuzmanov. And that's the first out to open the 6th.
That's what Jake needs. First pitch swinging out. 84 pitches now. Maybe this 6th inning could be one of those 6 or 8 pitch innings.
San Diego had a big opportunity last inning, leaving the bases loaded, and by my count I believe that's the 4th time on the 5-game homestand.
That's tough. Very tough. Frustrating. We all know that.
Orlando Hudson's 0 for 2 in this ball game. That's headed up the middle, and that's going to get through for a base hit. That's just the 2nd hit of the ball game for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the other would have been that home run in the 2nd. Hey, Padre fans, if you're looking for a great deal in 2008, check out the new bases loaded tickets in the right field pavilion. Each bases loaded game ticket is just $45 and comes loaded with $20 worth of Petco Park concession or merchandise value. Visit Padres.com to get your bases loaded ticket today. I don't know if you want to be sitting out there today in the right field pavilion in what was a 92-degree day at first pitch, and is one of the hottest games ever in franchise history, at least at home.
One of the hottest games temperature-wise, and one of the hottest games as far as the ticket, the matchup. As we take a look at Jake Peavy's pitch total at 88. Peavy, Webb, 2 Cy Young Award winners.
Grounded to third. Coos to second for 1, on to first. Then they get the inning-ending double play. That's going to help with Jake's pitch count. Nothing for the Diamondbacks in their half of the 6th inning. As we go to the last of the 6th downtown, it's a 1-run ball game. Padres baseball is brought to you by Postal Annex Plus. With over 65 locations in San Diego, see postalannex.com for the one nearest you. By Fan Diego, for ceiling fans, go to Fan Diego. And by MTS Transit Tuesdays. Ride MTS and get $6 off your Padres ticket. Go to www.sdmts.com for more information. Back into that road trip, you're going to be riding the MARTA, right, around Atlanta?
I think it might. Let's see, in Philly, you can take the...
I have no idea what that is.
Philly's the... they got the subway there,
right?
We can take the subway. And then in Florida, probably just take the bus.
Pedicab. Edmonds, Green, and Iguchi against Webb here in the 6th. San Diego down a run. And interestingly enough, in that 4th inning, when San Diego scored its lone run of the game, they did it without the benefit of a hit. A walk, an error, and a sacrifice fly. Edmonds takes a strike.
I think that's so frustrating. I'm sure if you talk to these Padre hitters or any hitter that's hit against Brandon Webb, is that when he's down with that sinker, you have to really string together a lot of hits. Last outing, you gave up 9 hits in 6 innings and 3 runs. So in 96 pitches, you have to string together a lot of hits.
If you had to start a franchise with a guy, we don't need any names or anything, but what type of a guy would you want? Would you want
a shortstop?
Pitching wise.
Oh, we're talking pitching?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I should do a better job setting that up.
That's all right. Take 2. Go ahead, Steve. And 3, 2, and 1.
Edmonds pops up. Reynolds is underneath it, and that's the first out to open the 6th inning. Mud, if you were going to start a franchise with a pitcher,
okay,
what type of pitcher, a starting pitcher, would you want? A guy that throws upper 90s?
I'd want a guy
with
like
a
Maddox.
Devastating change, or would you want a top-of-the-line guy with a sinker?
I want a guy like Maddox.
Which would be, in essence, a top-of-the-line guy with a two-seamer.
Well, you know, early in the day, he threw in the 90s.
Into center. Green sends it for San Diego's first hit here in the 6th inning and their 4th of the ball game.
You know what? Brandon Webb has thrown a lot more breaking balls as far as curveballs are concerned. That one was a curveball and left up in the zone. You see the breakdown from Brandon Webb.
He's been around the zone, man, but those two-seamers have been wicked. So the tying run is aboard again for San Diego, who left the bases loaded in the 5th inning.
You know, when you ask me that question, there are so many guys that can fill that spot. Because even, you know, who wouldn't want a guy like Jake? Who wouldn't want a guy like Brandon Webb?
And that is going to be a base hit to right field. Green around second, on his way to third. He'll be in there safely. And now the tying run is 90 feet away. And I know Brandon Webb did a terrific job pitching in the 5th inning. He's going to have to repeat that here in the 6th.
Well, how about the bottom of the order for the Padres? Green with 2 knocks, Iguchi with a knock, Jake Peavy with a double. Maybe that home run yesterday can spark some things for Iguchi, huh?
5 hits for the San Diego Padres. Runners at first and third with 1 out. Josh Bard coming up. Still, the double play will get Brandon Webb off the hook here in the 6th.
Elevate something to the outfield right here.
It was a sacrifice fly back in the 4th inning off the bat of Jim Edmonds that scored San Diego's lone run of the game.
You know, Brandon Webb is thinking down right here. Below the knees, shins, shoe tops.
The 1-0 home to Bard, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Now this is the 8th batter. You got Jake Peavy waiting on deck, and here we are in the last of the 6th inning, and Bud Black perhaps will have a decision to make here.
Well, that's going to be a tough decision, huh?
Especially since Jake has San Diego's only extra base hit of the afternoon.
I'd say if he walks him here, if he gets, you keep him in there. You let him hit.
3 balls and no strikes. Brandon Webb did a tremendous job, I thought, last inning, pitching around Adrian Gonzalez to load the bases, and then he got Kuzminoff on 3 pitches. Struck him out on a changeup. He's fallen behind on Bard, 3 balls and no strikes, with Peavy waiting on deck. And that's inside, ball 4. So for the 2nd consecutive inning, San Diego has the bases loaded as Brandon Webb walks his 4th of the ball game. I should point out there is no action in either bullpen. Brian Price, the pitching coach for Arizona, will come to the mound now and talk strategy with Webb. Bud Black calls Jake Peavy over right now, and they too will discuss strategy.
I'm guessing if you're Jake Peavy, you got to be taking a strike here, even if it's 0-1 and then the first one's over for a strike. You got to make him throw.
Well, this is something Bob and I talked about in the Lexus postgame show. During one of the Giants games, this was a similar situation. Remember, Chris Young came up in this situation with the bases loaded in the Giants series. Juan Cruz starting to loosen up. He's about 2 pitches deep. I mean, of course,
I think Jake Peavy's a little bit better hitter than Chris Young.
Certainly. I'll give you that. At what point, though, and this was something I think we saw in Chicago last year, too, at what point do you just keep the take sign on through the whole at bat? You know what I'm saying? And say, hey, let's take our chances with the top of the lineup.
That's a good
Brian
point.
Giles and 2 outs, and let's see.
There was a case when Arizona was in town. Valverde came to the plate, and he had the bat on his shoulder the whole time, struck out looking to, rather than doubling up on a ground ball to get out of the inning.
Webb will go out of the windup, and Peavy showing bunt. That was another thing, too. A lot of people had said, well, when Young was up in a bases-loaded situation in the Giants series, why not put, like, the safety squeeze on?
Well, there's a force play. It's easy just to play a little catch with your catcher. If you're the pitcher, you get that ball, you get it back to the catcher for the force play, and there's no tag. That's the advantage of the defense if somebody puts a squeeze on or a safety squeeze on.
Two balls and no strikes. Again, another bases loaded situation on the homestand for the Padres.
I think he just got the approval from Bud Black. He said, hey, if something's up, maybe swing at it. That might have been a decoy. Who knows?
And there it was. 2-1. Chris Young's chance early on the homestand against the Giants. He hit into an inning-ending double play. The 2-1, and that is fouled away, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Will he throw Jake Peavy a changeup?
Brian Giles waiting on deck. And a ground ball foul wide of third. That's exactly where Jake put it last time. He pulled one just inside the bag at third for the extra base hit. Green at third, Iguchi at second, Bard at first in a 2-1 ball game. Tying run 90 feet away. Swing and a miss. Got him. It's not bad, though. And now you'll go to the top of the lineup, and Brian Giles will get an opportunity.
He did throw him the changeup.
His 5th strikeout, and all 5 strikeouts, the out pitch has been the changeup. Two away, Brian Giles now. They appeal down to third, and no, says Tim Welke, as he started out Brian Giles with a changeup here. Infield is back. Reynolds well off the bag at third. And that's a strike, and it's even now at 1 ball and 1 strike. Brian Giles is 1 for 9 in the series, and that 1 hit was the home run yesterday.
San Francisco trailing the Reds 8-1 in the 5th.
Caught the corner. It's now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, I think you're going to hear it from the fans again if San Diego leads the bases loaded for the 2nd straight inning.
Belt high.
Two and 2.
Trying to gain some ground in the West. Try to beat these Diamondbacks, and then the Dodgers and Rockies are tied at 2.
Perhaps the pitch of the ball game, and that's a ground ball. Connor Jackson dives and flips to Webb, covering at first, and that will end the inning. And Webb gets off the hook one more time as the Padres, again with the tying run at third, fail to get him home.
Hey kids, be at Petco Park when we take on the Rockies Sunday, May 11th at 1:05 and get a Padres batting helmet.
All kids 14 and younger will receive a Padres batting helmet presented by U.S. Bank. Visit Padres.com for tickets. We head to the back third this afternoon downtown. Series finale between the Padres and the Diamondbacks, the rubber game, if you will. Jake Peavy was allowed to hit for himself with the bases loaded and 1 out last inning, so he continues here in the Arizona half of the 7th. Reynolds to greet him first, followed by Stephen Drew and Jeff Salazar. But I'm sure, like many Padre fans at home, we are all baffled by back-to-back innings with the bases loaded again. And the Padres coming up empty in the 5th and the 6th. Reynolds is swinging a miss. San Diego's home batting average now down to .218. Got him. Jake Peavy with 8 strikeouts. Well, it should come as no surprise that we have a pitcher's duel here in the 7th inning, another 1-run game. These are the MLB leaders presented by El Cajon Ford. Johan Santana, the only guy better than Peavy and Webb since 2003.
And he's in the league. He's in the senior circuit now. Thanks.
And get an opportunity perhaps to see him a couple times.
Yeah.
Jake Peavy has 8 strikeouts. And I haven't had an opportunity to look, but I wonder what the media there in New York is, how they're handling Johan Santana.
I'm sure they're all over him. Good or bad.
Newsday, the Post.
Good or bad.
What a difference that must be coming from what, like market 26 in Minneapolis, St. Paul to the Big Apple. Drew stays alive on a 2-2 pitch. Boy, am I hearing that attendance right? 40,000. Just a shade over 40,000 here in 92-degree temperatures. And that is lined out of the reach of Iguchi, and that is into right field for a base hit. Just the Diamondbacks' third hit of the afternoon. 1 on, 1 out. Jeff Salazar due up. Next pitch coming, by the way, Mud, will be the 100th of the ball game for Jake Peavy.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have Jake have a clean inning here in the 7th. Go to Hacken in the bottom of the 7th.
And Brandon Webb is sitting on 97 pitches.
And for the Padres, it'll be 2, 3, 4. McAnulty, Gonzalez, Kuzminoff due up.
No action in Arizona's bullpen. Due up here shortly is the pitcher Brandon Webb. Might be decision time for reigning National League skipper of the year Bob Melvin. Peavy season high as far as pitches thrown, 116 in his second start. That 9-inning game against the Dodgers. He also struck out 8, sitting on 8 Ks right here. His season high for strikeouts 11 against the Colorado Rockies. That was that 22-inning game.
What?
And Salazar went.
I was going to say, where was the pitch? I was wondering where the pitch was, for crying out loud.
1-2 now. I was thinking the same thing.
Check it. Don't watch the hitter. Just look at the pitch.
Yeah.
Oh, down the middle doesn't count?
I thought it was a better pitch.
I did too.
Than, you know, him. I thought he might have held up. Peavy works him off the plate. 2-2. Runner at first goes, and Salazar got a little wood on it, dribbles it down to third. Tough play for Kuzminoff.
What?
Not in time. Oh, I thought he got him at first. And Bud Black's coming out of the dugout, and he will argue with first base umpire Bill Welke.
You know, from up here, it looked like he was out, but we're going to have to see it again. Great play by Kevin Kuzminoff on the excuse me swing. Kind of tough to tell there.
This will be your better angle right here.
He's out.
I think he's out. Yep.
He's got to beat the ball.
He's out. Even better angle. Ball. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, I think he was out.
Nonetheless, Salazar reaches on the infield single. And Chris Snyder coming up. And that is popped up. And that's going to get out of play. Well, the one thing that this is going to do here is at least force manager Bob Melvin's hand. A pinch hitter has come out on deck. Miguel Montero, the backup catcher, has grabbed a bat. Well, it looks as if there is no double play here, that the Padres will not see Brandon Webb in the 7th. Unfortunately, they're going to see a pretty good pen. Bard lost the handle as he thought about trying to pick off Salazar down there at first. Pitch 107 from Jake. The slider misses. 2-1 on Chris Snyder. It was his 2-run home run with 2 outs in the second inning. That's the difference.
Oh,
and that is a foul ball.
That's a Schinberger.
Now, come to think of it, it was the Padres who got Snyder started in the first place. Oh, cold spray, please.
I think that was that might be an ankle appetizer. Oh, or
the instep, huh?
Yeah.
Should be able to walk that one off. Clay Meredith starting to loosen up in San Diego's bullpen. It was Snyder who had a bases loaded double off of Greg Maddux 2 Fridays ago in that game you and I did at Chase Field, which turned a 3-0 score early on into a 6-0 frame in the first inning for the Diamondbacks. Full now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Runners go, and the pitch is popped up, and they got a retreat. Jake Peavy says he wants it. He will grab it, and alertly Drew and Salazar get back to their respective stations. So with 2 outs, that's the last we'll see of Brandon Webb. Miguel Montero will come up and pinch hit. Listen to this.
Yeah, yell it out.
Unplugged with Jake Peavy.
Yeah. Surprised more pitchers don't do that. Everybody knows that the pitcher on the diamond is the best athlete out there, all-around athlete. So he should take charge, and Jake did just that.
Spoken with a little bias.
You think?
Just a tad. So Miguel Montero, the backup catcher and a left-handed swinger, has now been announced as the pinch hitter for Brandon Webb. And Webb in line, if the bullpen can hold it, to improve to 6-0 in the month of April. We got to look at Montero as the starting catcher on Friday night for the Diamondbacks. He caught Randy Johnson in the gem that Johnson threw. When we were last in Phoenix, he was on the disabled list and working his way through an injury on a rehab assignment.
You know, looking back at that game that Montero started when Randy Johnson was on the mound, 2 hits on the night. One was to left field going the opposite way, and then one up the center of the diamond.
And he looks at strike 1, 2-1.
One of those hits was up to the starter, Randy Wolf. And then the other one was off of Kevin Cameron. So a lefty and a righty. Next pitch, 115 for Jake Peavy.
Montero puts it into play. McAnulty chasing toward the line. He's not going to be able to get that one, and he falls into the stands. He had a nice catch yesterday early in the ballgame, sliding on the line out there in left field. Ask and you will receive. This was early in yesterday's ballgame. Almost a similar spot. Taking out that white line.
It's almost like a magic trick where poof, he came up with it. And then here's the next one, the padded wall nearly going over. Hey, thanks for the Pod Squad helping out. Nice job. Great.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out. Jake with 9 strikeouts in the ball game, and the Diamondbacks leave 2, and a 1-run lead is preserved. Let's go to the home half of the 7th. Stretch up at Petco. It's 2-1 Arizona. stretched out here at Petco Park. We remind you, don't miss San Diego Insider tonight at 6 and 8 p.m. We'll take you to an emotional graduation for these adults who went from being arrested to being inspired to take a second chance. That's tonight on San Diego Insider at 6 and 8 p.m. Juan Cruz is the new pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he's been downright nasty this season, and those numbers right there prove it, as he comes out of the Arizona bullpen for the 12th time already this season. Arizona's bullpen has been downright nasty as well. They're third in the National League with a 3.12 ERA. And there's only been two more successful bullpens to this date in the National League, and they would be Philadelphia and Florida, a couple of teams that San Diego will see on their next road trip. So Brandon Webb is done after 6, and it's up to Cruz, perhaps Qualls and Lyon, to protect that one-run advantage for Arizona.
Yeah, now the blueprint for Bob Melvin comes into play with the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Well, we've seen Cruz already a few times this year. In that first game of the series, when Randy Wolf squared off against Randy Johnson, Cruz pitched the 8th, 1 inning, 1 strikeout.
You know, the one thing that stands out with Cruz, and this is a good spot for Bob Melvin to throw him out there in here in the 7th inning, is the fact that he has been downright unhittable and nasty to left-handed hitters. Left-handed hitters this season 0 for 13 against Cruz, and he's scheduled to pitch to at least 2 of them here in the 7th. McAnulty, Gonzalez, and then Kuzminoff, and should we get further than that, Jim Edmonds, a left-hander. McAnulty chased one out of the zone. 1 ball and 1 strike. It's up to Cruz to protect that 1-run lead for Arizona and try and give Brandon Webb his 6th consecutive win to start the season.
See that changeup? That's one of the reasons why Cruz is so nasty to left-handed pitchers, left-handed hitters.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this the last time we faced him, but I've seen him on video and on the extra innings package, and he'll throw that thing 3-1.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll throw it 3-2. And McAnulty a swing and a miss, and Cruz is now put away another left-hander. Lefty's 0 for 14 against him. Webb goes 6, gives up 5 hits, allows 1 run. It was unearned. And he walked 4, struck out 5, and battled out of a couple of bases loaded situations in the 5th and 6th. Adrian Gonzalez, the batter. Wicket in on the hands right there, the curveball.
And the defense, the outfield pretty straight away for Adrian Gonzalez, and then the shift on the infield. So on the ground, he's going to pull that ball according to the spray charts of the Diamondbacks. The shortstop, Stephen Drew, way over towards second base, and then Hudson playing in shallow right field on the grass.
Tell you what, though, Cruz not one of a kind here in the National League as far as getting out left-handed hitters. He's actually 1 of 9 to start the day of not allowed a hit to a left-handed batter. And Adrian takes a healthy cut and misses. He's behind 1 ball and 2 strikes. The 1-2 plate word. Oh, and he got a healthy fastball at 94 and fouled it back. Right back to the mound. Cruz has it. Cruz throws to first, and quickly there are 2 away.
Well, Cruz got McAnulty swinging with the changeup. He gets Adrian Gonzalez the backdoor breaking ball. You could just see the confidence in this kid out on the mound right now. They found a nice role for him. He's taking advantage of it and putting up great numbers, as we've talked about.
He was kind of the, I don't want to classify him as a mop-up guy, but they didn't have him figuring in the 7th, 8th, and 9th to start the season. That was going to be Qualls, Pena, and Lyon. And he's worked his way nicely into the back half of Bob Melvin's bullpen. Look at that slider. No balls and 2 strikes on Kevin Kuzminoff. The late break, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's straight PlayStation right there, isn't it?
Backyard wiffle ball. The 0-2 home. Set him up with the slider before so he could go to the fastball and missed away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Juan Cruz has had big league time with the Cubs. That's where we saw him top out at 100 on the radar gun, Atlanta and Oakland, before finding a home here in Arizona. He revved that one up there at 95 and missed. There's the big unit. A winner here on Friday as he gets closer to 300 wins, and Kuzminoff a swing and a miss, that time on a slider, and Cruz a 1-2-3 7th. We head to the 8th downtown. It remains 2-1 Arizona. It is 2-1 in favor of the Diamondbacks. 2 runs on 4 hits in error, and for the Padres, they have just 1 run. U.S. Bank Junior Padres. Join the U.S. Bank Junior Padres for only $10 for kids 14 and younger. You can call 619-795-5022 or visit Padres.com. And I think they do a cool thing. They give out to the kids like a little passport.
Nice.
Where you got the schedule in the middle, and it tells you how to play baseball, and it tells you about all the players like Heath Bell, who we see for the 14th time this season.
And back-to-back outings for the right-hander. Pitched yesterday and quite well. 1 inning, he struck out 2 Diamondbacks. And for any reliever, you have that 1 bad outing early in the year and the ERA skyrockets, and then you can go on a tear to where, you know, the next 15 outings you give up 2 runs. Takes a while for that ERA to come back down.
Chris Young, Eric Burns, Orlando Hudson, the top 3 scheduled here in the 8th against Heath Bell. Arizona with a 1-run advantage. Again, we see another tight one where there's been no margin for error with the Padres. Chris Young learned that earlier this homestand, and Jake Peavy learning it right now. And Young skies this one up on the infield. Kuzminoff coming in, and he'll make the catch behind the mound for the first out of the inning.
Seems like that wind may be playing a little tricks on the infielders. That's why you have to always keep your feet moving.
Jake Peavy should be applauded for a 117 pitch effort in 92-degree temperatures today. His line reads like this: 7 innings pitched, only 4 hits. He gave up 2 runs. They were both earned. Walked 3 and struck out 9. And yet he's on the hook right now for the loss. You know, it would be his first of the year.
Yeah, you mentioned 117 pitch effort, and it's amazing. 1 pitch could be the difference. That's why it's so tough to win at the big league level. And he had a great outing.
Bell falls behind on Burns, 2 balls and no strikes. We didn't see Burns in the opener because of the leg issues they're being somewhat secretive about. Saw him yesterday, playing here today. He's 0 for 3. You know, the Diamondbacks have Chad Tracy now kind of back in the mix. He went down to extended spring training. It's a guy a couple of years ago that played a solid third base. They gave him a new contract extension, not figuring that Mark Reynolds would kind of have the success he's had. Burns takes a cut at a 3-0 pitch. Tracy's a guy just like Padre right fielder Brian Giles, who is trying to make his way back from microfracture surgery. I think Giles should be commended for getting back in time for opening day, because Chad Tracy had that microfracture surgery a month earlier than Brian Giles, and he's 10 years younger and he's still not back. But they hope to get him back soon. Burns sends it to left. McAnulty over for it, and he gloves it for the second out here in the 8th. Switch hitting Orlando Hudson will be the batter. You look ahead to Arizona, make it San Diego rather, in the 8th inning. Edmonds, Green, and Tadahito Iguchi scheduled. Doesn't look as if they're going to see Juan Cruz. I would assume they're going to see Chad Qualls. You know, not to digress, but it just baffles me, the Marine guys that can come out here and sit out there in 92-degree weather. Probably when they got those tickets early in the season, they figured, or Marine recruits, I should say. And on a 2-0 pitch, Hudson puts it into play. And that's the final out of the inning. Arizona goes quietly here in the 8th. Two to 1 Arizona with the lead as we move to the home half of the 8th inning. Honda Dealers pregame show Tuesday at 3:45, and that will come your way from Philadelphia. So say, you know what you got to do? You got to say the heck with Dr. Phil and Oprah.
Sure.
Come on over and watch us in high def.
Absolutely.
Tony Pena now, the second out of the Arizona Diamondback bullpen.
Kind of a rough go early on. The opponent's hitting .318 off the right-hander.
Well, my money would have been on Qualls right there. Pena with the glove that almost matches the jersey.
Yeah, Jose Mesa look, huh?
Arizona red or
Panama red?
Got me. In the air to right off the bat of Edmonds, and it's taken care of out there by Salazar. Sedona red, maybe? I think it's Sedona red.
Could be, yeah.
Should know. I only lived in that state for 11 years, huh? Khalil Green, the batter now with one out and the base is empty. Padres running out of chances here. After Green, you have Iguchi against Pena. Well, Tony Pena is the kind of guy you can break through against. Opponents hitting .318 against him on the season. San Diego has 5 hits. 4 of them are singles in the game, and Khalil Green has 2 of the 4 singles.
You know, the example I was telling you earlier about guys giving up runs early. Pena gave up 4 runs against the Rockies back on April 13th. That'll hurt the ERA.
He might have a little bit fallen out of favor there, and Juan Cruz had a chance to step up after that. And the 3-1 is ball 4. And San Diego has a base runner for the first time since the 6th.
Well, as Khalil Green walks his way down to first base, how about walking into one of the 6 area Massey Nissan locations here in San Diego County? It's a great feature they've got on the 08, the IntelliKey. I've got an Armada and an Altima. They both have the IntelliKey. Just have the key in your pocket nearby. You step on the brake, you press the button, and your car starts. There's 6 Massey Nissan locations: El Cajon, National City, Oceanside, Kearney Mesa, Escondido, and Poway.
Tying run at first for San Diego with 1 out. Tadahito Iguchi, the hero yesterday, almost around the same time, will be the batter.
First pitch slider.
Bud Black has his full complement on his bench, electing not to use a pinch hitter when Jake Peavy came up with the bases loaded in the 6th. And the pitcher spot is due up a few batters from now, should San Diego get a couple on here and threaten. And quickly Pena ahead on the count. No balls and 2 strikes to Tadahito Iguchi. This thing's shaping up now to be the 4th 1-run decision of the homestand. A 5-game homestand. 3 of the first 4 had been decided by just a run. Got him. Iguchi down on 3 pitches, 2 away. Green remains at first.
Straight heat, maybe off the plate a little bit, but with 2 strikes, too close to take, I guess.
So Josh Bard now with an opportunity.
And I've seen a little bit of, I don't maybe call it inconsistency on the off the plate a little bit, both sides. You know, balls called strikes, strikes called balls.
Tony Clark has grabbed a bat and will come out on deck, and should the inning be extended, will bat for the pitcher Heath Bell. Bud Black does not have a true left-hander on his bench today. He stacked the lineup against Webb with lefties, but does have 2 switch hitters at his disposal, Clark and Crabb. And situations like this are why they brought in Tony Clark. See if we can get to him. That last pitch by Pena, 97 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Where do they find these guys? The 2-0 home and a swing and a miss. Boy, Bard took a big cut.
It's got to be tough. Day game glare, 96-mile-an-hour fastball. You know, sure, you've got the batter's eye out there, but still, come on. That's tough to hit.
We have not seen the shadows engulf the infield yet, but that might be coming shortly. And Bard gets underneath it, pops it up to left. This is going to end the inning, and the Padres are going to leave the tying run on again. 8 full from downtown. It remains 2-1 Arizona.
Top of 9, Snakes over the Friars 2-1. And it's time for our Valley View Casino colossal hit of the game. And unfortunately for the San Diego Padres, it was off the bat of an Arizona Diamondback. In the 2nd inning, Chris Snyder, a 2-run shot into the Padre bullpen, made it 2-0, and then the Padres scored a run in the 4th. That's where we stand, 2-1. Our Valley View Casino colossal hit of the game, as always, brought to you by my good friends at Valley View Casino.
Clay Meredith now for the San Diego Padres, 13th time out of Bud Black's bullpen this season. Asked to keep it a 1-run deficit. Jackson, Reynolds, and Drew due up in the 9th inning against him. When you talk about that colossal hit and that one mistake out on a 1-2 pitch with 2 outs to the number 8 batter, that's a tough one to swallow. First pitch swinging is Connor Jackson. He's worn out San Diego pitching so far this season, but not in this ball game. He's 0 for 4. Mark Reynolds now. If we flip over the scorecard for San Diego in the 9th, and they'll most likely go up against Diamondback closer Brandon Lyon. They'll have a pinch hitter, and we expect that to be Tony Clark. And then back to the top of the lineup, Brian Giles and Paul McAnulty. San Diego has left 10 men on base in this game, including back-to-back innings in which they've left the bases loaded. If Arizona gets out of here with a victory, they improve to 18-7. Their best ever start would continue. To short.
Look at the claw work. You know, Steve, you and I were talking in between innings about the left on base column for the San Diego Padres. 10 men left on base, and I always mention how that's a good thing, bad thing. It's a good thing when you're scoring 8-9 runs, maybe more. But today, my gosh, a lot of opportunities, but they had to deal with former Cy Young Award winner Brandon Webb. 10 men left on base, only 1 run.
5 getting on via a hit. There were 4 singles and a double, and it was the pitcher Jake Peavy who had the only extra base hit for San Diego. 2 outs, bases empty for Stephen Drew. And he hits that one toward the corner, and that will be foul. Dodgers and Rockies locked up in a 2-2 battle in the 8th inning. Giants are getting hammered at home in the 8th inning by Cincinnati 9-1. Arizona might get out of here with a 7-game lead in the NL West. And again, in that stretch where they played 22 in a row against the NL West, they might be 17-5. Drew pulls it to first. Adrian Gonzalez calls off Meredith, steps on the bag, and that'll do it for the Diamondbacks in the 9th. Last chance for the Padres. They need 1 to tie and 2 for a walk-off. San Diego needs a run to tie it, 2 to win it. They'll have to do it against Brandon Lyon, the closer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll take a look at the numbers on Brandon Lyon. 6 saves this season.
Last time out a couple days ago here in San Diego. 1 perfect inning, 1 strikeout for the closer Brandon Lyon. Need a bloop and a blast here, Steve.
Tony Clark will be called upon to pinch hit for the pitcher spot. And then we go back to the top of the lineup. Giles and Paul McAnulty in a 2-1 ball game. Arizona with a lead. We had a walk-off yesterday in the 13th. San Diego evened the series at 1 game apiece. What's in store this half inning? Tony Clark has been called upon in a pinch hitting role numerous times here in April. He is 4 for 12 with a run batted in. And San Diego as a team has just 8 pinch hits all year. He has half of them. And Lyon ahead on the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Two balls and 2 strikes. We saw Brandon Lyon on Friday night face 3 batters, got a strikeout, and a full inning worked of scoreless work. Swing and a miss, and down on strikes goes Clark. Well, the Padres do have a history of walk-off home runs against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ryan Klesko with this memorable walk-off early in April 2004 off Matt Manti. He's retired, however. Then Brandon Lyon has done a remarkable job for the Diamondbacks now that Jose Valverde has been traded to Houston.
You know what I noticed on that video after this pitch? That ball where it hit down the left field line, it said 334. Now it's 2 feet farther, 336. I did not know that.
Interesting. I was here that day. I did not know that.
And I don't recall ever seeing anything said about that fence being pushed back 2 more feet. There's the old one, 334, as Klesko rounded the bases. And then here it is today.
Where do you have room there to push it back?
I don't know.
Maybe in that far-reaching corner. Here's the 1-2 to Giles, and it's a ground ball to short. Giles is out number 2, and the Padres are down to their final out. You saw that graphic a moment ago. 6 walk-off home runs in this, the 10th anniversary season for the Diamondbacks. So the Padres have stung them almost to the tune of 1 time a year walk-off variety. And the last line of defense is Paul McAnulty.
Well, here's a guy who's hit a walk-off home run before.
Against the Colorado Rockies 2 seasons ago off Nate Fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
San Diego's lone run came in the 4th inning. It came without the benefit of a hit. And McAnulty pulls it to first. Jackson has it, and that's how it ends on this Sunday afternoon. The Diamondbacks take game 3 of this series. They win 2 of 3 and now improve to a major league best 18-7 on the season, and will be ahead of the San Diego Padres by 8.5 games when the standings are printed in the morning paper tomorrow. 4th 1-run decision of the homestand. It goes the way of the Diamondbacks. Tonight's final game summary brought to you by Jack in the Box, where you can get everything late night. Well, as we sum this one up, it was a terrific pitching matchup between Brandon Webb and Jake Peavy, and the difference was just that 2-run home run in the top half of the 2nd inning by the number 8 batter Chris Snyder on a 1-2 pitch. And the Padres are 1-4 on this 5-game homestand, and again we see for the 4th time in 5 games a low-scoring 1-run decision that doesn't go the way of the San Diego Padres.
And as I mentioned, when the pitchers took the mound this afternoon, you know, the margin for error, who's going to capitalize? And it was the walk in the 2nd inning to Drew. It was the 2-run shot to Chris Snyder that made it 2-0. The Padres only came back and scored 1. And Brandon Webb just continues to roll 6-0. And in his career in April, he's 18-2.
Wow. Arizona improves to 18-7. 17-5 against the West over that 22-game stretch, and now both these teams start playing out of the division. And for the Padres, they will start a 9-game road trip, which will begin Tuesday night in Philadelphia. That's when we will talk to you next on Channel 4 San Diego and in high def on Channel 704. Game coverage begins with a pregame show at 3:45 p.m. Matt and Mud will be back with you on Tuesday. Final score once again, Arizona takes the series. They win it Game 3 here on Sunday, 2-1. The executive producer of Padres Baseball on Channel 4 is Craig Nichols. Today's game produced by Ed Barnes, directed by Tom Satursky. The associate producer of Padre Baseball is Chiron Bob Wiersdorfer. The stage manager, Francie Nakamura. Stats by Mike Trussell. For Mark Grant, I'm Steve Quist. We'll talk with you Tuesday night from Philadelphia. Diamondbacks win it 2-1.